Tonight, this place is going to be filled with 15,000 people to a sold-out crowd. The sport, martial arts. The man in the limelight, Chatri Sityodtong. He's going all out to create the biggest and most lucrative sporting spectacle in Asia.
Tonight of the most unforgettable martial arts action.
A stadium filled with roaring fans. The atmosphere electric. All here to watch martial arts. It's one of 18 fight nights organized by One Championship this year. And this is the man behind it all.
I'm living the life of my dreams. Sometimes I pinch myself. I can't believe this is my life. Give me your strike look. It's very sharp and very fast, you know? Good job, man. We'll get you in the cage soon, okay? How you feel? Good? You feel good? This is your time, man. Surprise submission.
Chatri Sityodtong went straight for a body slam. In 6 years, cornering the market and creating a formidable sports entertainment player.
3 years from now, the plan is to throw 52 events, one every weekend, across Tokyo, Seoul, Beijing, Shanghai, Bangkok, Jakarta, Phnom Penh, Yangon.
So it sounds like you're taking on the world.
It's practically.
Raised in Thailand, Chatri, which means warrior in Thai, began training in Muay Thai at the world-renowned Sityodtong camp, going on to fight professionally in Thailand. And do you remember the first time you fell in love with martial arts?
I was a child, and my father took me to Lumpini Stadium, which is the mecca of Muay Thai, and it was just riveting.
But his family faced poverty during the Asian financial crisis. His father left the family.
I was with my mother, my younger brother, at the lowest point of our lives, and watching your mother suffer and your younger brother, suffer from hopelessness as well as, lack of resources or lack of food. This is something that really emotionally impacted me. So I just naively thought, if I make a lot of money, I'll be happy.
Chatri scored a scholarship at Harvard, graduating with an MBA. He co-founded an internet firm which was sold off, later becoming a hedge fund manager. But he quit Wall Street for martial arts.
Eventually, I did make a lot of money, and I found myself thinking to myself, wait, this is not fulfilling me in the way that I thought would be. So, the amount of, cars or houses or how big your bank balance is, that has nothing to do with true happiness in life, true satisfaction. And martial arts has been my greatest passion all of my life. And I said, man, I want to do something. And I had a very simple thesis. Every region of the world had several multi-billion-dollar sports media properties. So North America had NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball. Europe had F1, EPL, Champions League. And Asia had literally nothing. And yet all these sports properties were worth tens of billions of dollars. And here's the crazy thing. Asia's been the home of martial arts for 5,000 years. There is a martial art in every single country in Asia that is part of the history, the culture, the tradition, the values.
So the idea finally hit you.
And I was like, man, I got to try it.
In 2011, he founded One FC and renamed it One Championship. But inside the ring, business can be brutal. Well, in 6 short years, you've turned One Championship into Asia's largest sports media property. What was it like getting the business off the ground initially? Did you meet with a lot of skepticism?
Yeah, so I will say it was not a fairy tale beginning. All the glamorous stuff you read about, startups or One Championship, I'll tell you the truth was I was rejected by everybody, literally everybody. Whether it was, investors, media broadcasters.
They thought it was a crazy idea?
Crazy. They thought it was silly, and even some people said, Asians, they don't like sports. Why would you do that? We already import all the sports. Yeah. We have F1 here, we have NBA. And I said, yeah, but those are Western properties. I said, why don't we create our own? So I was, even employees, potential employees, I was literally begging people to come join me because nobody wanted to be part of this. So,
but you kept going.
The first 3 years, I would say, were literally utter sheer, I would say, failure after failure, mistake after mistake, rejection after rejection. If I looked at my email and I printed out the number of rejections, I could literally plaster this, entire stadium with rejection letters. It was that bad. But now it's unbelievable. The whole world has embraced it.
What was the turning point?
I would say that once people could see that we were genuinely celebrating Asia's greatest cultural treasure in a way that exemplified Asian values and celebrate Asian heroes, That was the key. It's like Asians have for so long had only Western heroes. But why should our heroes be David Beckham or Manchester United or Liverpool? Why not, have genuine homegrown heroes? And it's no secret, Asians are the very best in the world at martial arts. Martial arts is our greatest cultural treasure. Let's celebrate, let's showcase it, let's show something that we're the best in the world at. Let's show it on the global stage.
How did you go about building up that roster of credible fighters?
So, I was fortunate in the sense that, I'm come from a very a deep and long martial arts background with a big name.
So you had connections?
So I had connections all over Asia. I was a pretty well-known figure already in the martial arts community. So I had credibility in terms of starting this with the martial arts community. But really, it was, brick by brick. It's when we got our TV broadcast, when we got our social media, more and more athletes started getting interested, and it became this virtuous cycle because more and more athletes meant we could tell more and more amazing life stories of these world champions. It meant it resonated more deeply with the audience. It meant our social media metrics were taking off, and our broadcast ratings would go off. And then once that started happening, then all the broadcasters putting on crazy amounts of hours of our content. So literally 3 years ago, an average broadcaster would put us 1 hour to 2 hours a month of content. Today, they're putting up as much as 6 to 7 hours a day of one championship every single day. So what's changed is that whole dynamic is like now the entire world has embraced it. At least Asia has embraced what we've been trying to do for so long.
Let's talk more about it, because in the last 3 years, you've really experienced phenomenal growth when it comes to TV distribution and ratings.
Right.
Your events now reach about potentially 1 billion viewers in 128 countries. You have landed some great sponsorship deals as a result.
Right.
What's your revenue structure like? Do all your events make money?
Right. So, if I look at the world's largest sports media property, NFL, okay, it's 13 billion in revenue, 7 billion comes from media rights, and then another third typically comes from advertisers and sponsors, and then the remainder from merchandise and ticketing. And I think that's the same breakout that one championship will have, in the next couple of years. Right now, we predominantly get it from advertisers and sponsors, people who want to be part of the event, people who want to showcase their brand, people who want to connect more deeply to the audience. And what's really fascinating is that, and this is, I say, pure luck, pure good luck, is the demographics of our fans. It's just, no one imagined, but it's 62% male, 38% female, 80% millennials.
Really?
71% collegiate graduates. So it is literally the cream of the crop in terms of demographics that brands want to reach.
Let's talk about the last 3 years, because you've taken martial arts to new heights in Asia. But given your success, you're still often being compared to your US rival, UFC. How much of that business model do you try to copy, and how much do you try to set yourself apart and differentiate yourself from your US rival?
So I think we're 180 degrees diametrically opposite, rather.
How so?
In terms of DNA and ethos and philosophy. So UFC has done a great job in America with the formula of focusing on the fight, blood sport, violence, antagonism. So the press conferences will have two antagonists, screaming profanities, racial epithets, a lot of what I would consider as a martial arts disrespectful behavior. For us at One Championship, we're here to celebrate Asia's greatest cultural treasure, the values of integrity, humility, kindness, compassion, discipline, courage, work ethic. And we tell the stories of our heroes and in a way that helps to ignite the world with hope, strength, dreams, and confidence and courage. This is a very different approach. So what I say is our Western counterparts, they're selling fights. We're unleashing heroes.
But they are trying to catch up here in Asia. They might be dominant in the Western Hemisphere, but they're trying to catch up here in Asia.
Right.
Are you watching your opponent closely? Are you threatened?
Just like every other industry, there's a global duopoly. So literally, UFC controls the Western Hemisphere, we control the Eastern Hemisphere, and I think we can happily coexist that way. Of course, will we be competing here at the edges here and there? Yes, of course. But we have over a 90% market share in Asia. I mean, we have just dominated the category, not just for martial arts, but for sports in general. There literally is no other sports property in Asia that is pan-Asian in terms of live events with a global broadcast. And that was the opportunity that I went after as an entrepreneur. When I first started this thing, I looked at it like, it's a massive vacuum, 4.4 billion people.
So you don't even see them as a threat?
No, I mean, of course, I respect them as a competitor, but it's not something that, their DNA is so different. It has not resonated with the Asian audience, and I don't think it ever will.
So let's just say in terms of market share, if you had to put UFC and One Championship in a ring and you had to slug it out, it would be a complete knockout. You would win them. hands down.
I think our athletes definitely would. I mean, our world champions, I've openly invited, said, let's have our world champions, I think, to compete against each other. That would be amazing.
Okay. Well, in terms of funding, you've gone through 3 rounds. You pulled in some major investors like Temasek, Sequoia Capital, and Mission Holdings. How much have you raised so far in terms of capital?
$100 million US. So that's what's the beauty of this business, is that it's a very asset-light business. I don't need to raise billions and billions for this. It's an asset-light business with an incredible scalability component to it. So this can literally be a $30-40 billion property with very, very few hard assets, with massive incremental margins. It's just the way this sports media businesses are typically very unique properties, unique franchises that don't have much competition.
How did you go about pulling in these high-profile investors? What's your secret?
I'll just tell you, it's a lot of serendipity, a lot of luck.
A lot of knocking on doors?
Well, that too, but I got rejected by everybody I knocked on, before. Actually, these investors came to us. That was what was remarkable about this. It kind of happened by luck. Temasek and their division, their equity growth division, Heliconia, reached out to me, and I actually turned them down a few times
You
on
turned
email.
them down?
On email, I didn't want to. I wasn't in capital raising mode. And but they said, no, come on, please have coffee. So we ended up having coffee in St. Regis. We hit it off, and then just this summer, Sequoia, same thing. They bumped into somebody who knew a lot about One Championship at the elevator bank, and one thing led to another, and I had breakfast with Sequoia, and then I think several weeks later they invested.
What's your next phase of growth? Because you've just raised $100 million just in July alone.
Right.
What's the next phase of growth of the company? What are you looking to do?
So, next year we're going to have a record number of events, 24 events, live events across all the iconic cities of Asia. So, Tokyo, Seoul, Beijing, Shanghai, Bangkok, Manila, etc. And we actually are launching our first reality show as well. So think of it as Anthony Bourdain culture travel show times martial arts times live fights. So it's kind of the quest of searching for the next martial arts superstar. We'll find some martial arts superstars, then we put them in live action.
Okay, you have a lot on your plate. How long before you start your next capital raising?
We have potential in next year because there has been a lot of incoming interest for this. So we don't need money for a long while, just because we just raised this summer. But I'll be opportunistic about it. Like if there are investors that I believe will help accelerate the business, that will be strategic in many ways of adding value, then I'm very welcome to that idea. But capital per se, we don't need it right now.
Don't go away. More with Chatri Sityodtong, founder and CEO of One Championship, in just a moment.
So if you're hosting an event in Japan versus Shanghai versus Bangkok versus KL, the economics are very, very different.
But when do you hope to be profitable? Managing Asia will be right back. Hi, I'm Christine Tan, and thanks for watching Managing Asia on CNBC Live. You can check out more of our great content by clicking on the videos on screen. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for the very best in feature programming. Thanks for watching.